Hello there, this is going to be a short series of videos talking about cruisers. We'll be going over basically consoles, equipment, bridge powers, how we use those abilities, duty officers, and so forth. This video will be concentrating on what consoles and equipment I use on the Operations Class Odyssey ship. As I said, this is not the guide to building the perfect ship. This ship guide will literally be to give you an idea of why I choose what I choose, and hopefully it will help you make a more informative decision about how you want to build your ship. So without further ado, we'll get started. As stated already, this is an Operations Class cruiser for the Odyssey type, and this is the equipment I currently have. Until recently a lot of my equipment were blues, but until recently when I was able to actually get hold of purple gear from the exchange, and before Season 7 release I was a Borg 3-part and Mako shield man. In the light of Season 7's now release, I have gone over to using the full Mako set. I find on the Operations Odyssey this is of benefit. If for example you were running a Science Odyssey, you might still favour running 3-part Borg perhaps, and with Mako shields. That would be a decision up to you, but this one's about the operations and how I build mine. Again, this ship is designed to take a lot of punishment. The shields can be taken down on this ship, but it'll take a lot of punishment if the shields do go down, and again we'll go into that in a bit more detail in a moment. So as you can see, primary weapons for fore and aft are anti-proton beam arrays. I have had a lot of success with Tetrion with accuracy ×2, but I tend to find that favours more a scientific build, especially if you're using drains, for example, on shields. This ship's there for brute force, and it's supposed to get their attention. So, beam arrays are all purple Mark 11s. These are the Borg ones. So I've got a 2% critical chance, plus 20 crit severity bonus, and 10% accuracy. The better the accuracy in my mind, the better your shots are going to be. They're going to hit their target more often. And then moving on, I tend to favour having 2 launchers forward and 1 launcher aft. My secondary torpedo launcher, as I'm going to call it, for forward will be the Harpeng launcher. The radiation damage against the Borg is essential, and this ship is pretty much kitted out for end of game combat. You could swap this out. I've had very good success with the Breen transphasic rapid fire torpedoes. Even the photon torpedo would be good in here for the quick reload, and you could use a different console to boost the torpedo output. I don't just mean damage consoles, but I mean a couple of other consoles that are out there, which I'll go into in a different video in different discussion. Primary forward launcher on the Fortitude will be a quantum torpedo launcher, again purple Mark 11s. This one's got accuracy, control, crit D, and damage, so basically when my torpedoes hit they will do some damage. Primarily this character in this ship is spec'd for beam array damage over torpedo damage. Again, we'll go into a different video about build specs for your toon, but this is a good torpedo to have there. As you can see, the aft launchers are exactly the same beam arrays. My aft launcher is from the recent release of the Regent class. It will be the wide-angle quantum torpedo. Although a little bit less damage output than my forward launcher, the 180-degree targeting arc is of very good use. And those of us that fly Odysseys a lot tend to find we have targets more behind us, especially in the back quarter. So it makes more sense to put the wide-angle launcher astern, where there's also 3 beam arrays to back up the damage. And I have great success with this and don't have any complaints so far. Deflector, impulse and shields are purple Mark 11s. They're the Mako set. A recent addition to using the full Mako. I got these before the Season 7 Reputation release. Very good array. Designed to take a lot of punishment. You get a bonus to speed when you are at sector space, so those of us that sacrifice maybe our Borg engines are not going to be sacrificing too much. We've still got greater speed. The Mako shields are, at the moment, some of the best shields I've seen, to be perfectly honest. If you can't afford or haven't got round to doing the reputation system yet, the resilient shield arrays you can get from your fleet shops if you're part of a fleet, those resilient shields are actually very, very good as well. and there probably will be, to be perfectly honest, a cheaper version of getting these shields would be to get the standard resilient shields. They are very, very good shields. I'm very impressed. I was a covariant shield man, but over time the Mako shields have won me over. Also, I've noticed the 3-part bonus that you get when you've got the matching mark set, which we'll bring up now. And as you can see, when you've got set 2, you get Magno Plasma Relays, which are of +5 power recharge speed, so things recharge a lot quicker. You've also got a bonus to Starship Power Insulators. You also, if you've got the 3 set, you've got the Heavy Graviton Beam. I tend to find, to get the best out of this, you really ought to run a very high auxiliary level, either by popping a battery or using EPS transfer, for example. You'll get more damage out of it. The Graviton Beam, in my mind, can be occasionally useful, but I tend to find using it on static targets is actually better. So, for example, if you're in the Cure and you're taking out the probes, etc., then these are better against stationary targets, so you may prefer these. But they can repel a target away as well, but any decent science ship with tractor repulsors would be actually better than having this. But it's there, and it does have its uses. I've noticed the abilities that actually affect it. Particle generator, power insulators, graviton generator, subspace decompiler. You can tell really if you're a science 2 you will get more out of this. But my engineer doesn't do too bad with it really. Okay, devices are, 2 of these are self-explanatory. In my case I've gone for shield batteries and weapon batteries to boost the power there and regeneration rates. The console over here, the Ablative Javelin hardpoints, very, very useful console. Bonus to your structure integrity. If you're in the middle of a firefight, a very heavy one, for example, maybe into the Hive, the space battle, I'm going to do everything I can to increase my hit points and be able to stay around as long as possible. The last device I have is a subspace field modulator. If you don't have this, I strongly recommend you rerun the Davidian first mission. Very useful console. This device I should say, works brilliantly in escorts, science ships and engineering ships. To be honest, why you haven't got it is a bit of a question mark. Again, I suppose it's not for everybody, but the +15 defense for 15 seconds is invaluable. Not just also the +34 tool defense resistance as well. But if you mix this with the Aegis 3-part set, with the extra 10 +10 defense you get from that set, mixed with this device, you are getting some serious defense against being pummeled. So, one to remember. Moving on to engineering consoles, some people may raise an eyebrow on my first console choice by putting an RCS accelerator in there. This is a purple Mark 11. The Odyssey doesn't turn on a dime. There are other ways you can get the ship to turn very, very quickly, but I tend to favour putting an RCS in console in there just to give me a little bit of an edge. This console can get slotted in and out for various other consoles, and again I'll go into that in a different video about some of the alternate builds I could do with the Operations Odyssey, but it tends to stay in there 9 times out of 10, and I tend to find it just gives me that little bit extra in turn rate, although the ship is primarily a broadsider and going toe to toe. Second console in my engineering slot is the Enhanced Plasma Manifold. This is a very good console, giving you +33 shield power and +33 auxiliary power. I tend to pop this if I don't, because I don't use auxiliary batteries on this particular build, before I use the heavy graviton beam. It tends to be quite useful for increasing the damage. Also brings back systems that are disabled, and higher the shield power setting you have, the quicker your shield's going to regenerate. So in the middle of a very heavy firefight, I may pop this just to keep power levels up higher on my shields to help them regenerate quicker. Third console on this ship will be the Ablative Hull Armor. Again, this is a purple Mark 11. This is giving me basically resistance against Plasma Disruptor, Phaser and Tetrium, which tend to be the main weapons that I see around. Obviously there are a few Polaron people out there as well, so this console may get slotted out. I know some people might slot a different art in here for against higher resistance against plasma. That's again your individual choice in STFs. I just tend to favour the Ablative Hull Armor. It gives me pretty much an all-rounder protection. Fourth engineering console is a blue Mark 11. This is the Neutronium alloy. This gives me the protection against kinetic damage as well as all energy damage as well. Very useful console. In all my ship builds, you always find the neutronium alloy in there. You may not find in some of my ships ablative, but you will see the neutronium. This is just one of those generic alloy consoles that is just beneficial to everybody, be you an escort or a science ship. Console number 5 will be the Universal Simulated module. It was originally part of the Borg set, but it was a 4-part set. Now since Season 7 it's now turned into a 3-part set, and this has been moved over into a different set, a brand new set. The Omega Adaptive Borg technology. Whether or not this new 3-part set is of any use, I cannot say. I've not had the opportunity to do it yet. I've just currently reached Tier 3 in the reputation system in Omega. I'm actually going to get myself to the end of the tier, and then I'm going to start then grinding and getting the equipment. But for the moment, I'm happy the way things are with this particular character's build, so I'm staying with that. But this console is just very useful. Anything that gives you an increase to your critical chance and critical severity is useful. We all like to have full power to our weapons if at all possible, so a +5 to weapon power setting is just, yeah, be you a science ship or a tactical or engineering, anything to oomph up your weapon power is essential. Also, hull repair. I'm a firm believer of passive repairs, so by your crew I think it's quite useful. And also +5.1 to starship hull repair, quite useful. Also, I've got the graviton bonus generators, very useful if you're a science toon. This ship, when I had originally this character using the Science Odyssey, would actually have a graviton torpedo forward as well as a quantum. I tended to find then he was spec'd also additionally for graviton generators, so the bonus in graviton that also helped the chronoton torpedoes. Something to bear in mind if you're a chronoton torpedo fan, make sure you're spec'd and it will have consoles that are going to give you a bonus for using chronoton torpedoes. I don't just mean the damage ones, I mean ones that actually boost your graviton generator skill. Right, moving over to the science consoles. First one in here is the field generator, which was originally an engineering console, but later patches got moved into a science console. I've got the standard one here that just gives me the +17.5 to my maximum shield capacity. This ship is going to go toe-to-toe, and as such I want her to have every little scrap of power and every extra bit to my shields as possible. With this current build at the moment, if I look at my shield power settings, I'm currently getting the 11.236 to my shields, which I think is quite respectful. So every little helps there. The second science console that I'm using is Purple Mark 12, which was a very lucky find on the exchange. This gives me a +15% shield regeneration rate. When you're in the middle of a heavy firefight, especially in a lot of the Borg Enderon STFs, I will take any opportunity I can to get my shields to regenerate as quickly as possible. So the more power you've got into your shields, the quicker the regeneration rate of those shields. But I also put in the shield emitter amplifier to boost that as gain. Now in the reputation system there are some options where you can actually boost your shield regeneration rate. So for example, when I hit tier 4 you can get the superior shield repair, which increases your shield's regeneration rate, and that is quite a figure there. You can see that they help regeneration. That will be my fourth option. I'm not going to go for the Omega Graviton Amplifier. If I was going to use the Borg Cutting Beam I might actually be tempted to go that, but not on this particular build. I'll be using the superior shield repair. Again, that's a conversation for later in a different video. My third and final science console in here is again a Purple Mark 12. This is a biofunction monitor. These seem to have fallen out of favour. A lot of people don't tend not to use these. Basically I like to have my crew recover as quickly as possible to use the passive ability for hull repair. The more crew I've got, the better my passive hull repair is going to be. So very, very useful that for me personally. I know some people don't favour biofunction monitors anymore. They've fallen out of favour of a lot of players. And last by no means least, my tactical consoles. These are currently two blue Mark 11s. I'm running the anti-proton mag regulators. These ones hold their value very well on the exchange, so these can be a little bit expensive to get hold of sometimes. Or if you're an engineer and you craft them, crafting's not perfect at the moment, but you could use that route as well to make them. As soon as the opportunity arises and I happen to see a good deal on the exchange, I will be upgrading these most likely to purples and hopefully Mark 12s, but we'll have to wait and see for that. So again, that's my build for the operations class cruiser for consoles and for equipment. The next video I suspect will be now going through bridge officers. There'll be another video for bridge officers, and there'll be another video for the character spec that I use for this ship. Okay. Again, this will be a series that I hope to do more of. That obviously depends on what sort of feedback I get as well. So thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.